This is the Future of IP Protection podcast, brought to you by Mark Vision. This show is dedicated to arming companies with the skills, know-how, and technology they will need to future-proof their IP protection strategy for the years ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Future of IP Protection podcast. Today, I'm speaking with Austin Hillam, co-founder of ZipString and a handheld physics toy developer and manufacturer. Hey, Austin, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so I started by telling you a little bit that, a little insight into the fact that I got to see you guys on Shark Tank. So I know a little bit about ZipString, but for our, listeners who don't, tell us a little bit about your background and how you and your partner started this company.
Sure. ZipString has been just a wild ride and has been so much fun. It's a roller coaster. You got high peaks and low valleys. But a bit about me, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. Always have grown up working on projects. My father would invite me to work on anything he was. And so I got to learn how to use a lot of different tools. I've really found that just learning how to use different tools opens up different ways and brings different ideas to the table or how you can use them, you could say. Engineering has always been something I've been passionate about, and I studied mechanical engineering at Brigham Young University. I met my co-founder, Steven, here in Georgia between semesters in the summer, and he studies electrical engineering at Georgia Tech. And he had watched a physics YouTube professor named Bruce Yini demonstrate this concept of pushing a string. And he had this benchtop device and it was pushing a string in a loop, and it was pretty cool. And Steven, at the same time, had a robotics competition at Georgia Tech. And thought, I wonder if I could take kind of what was in that video and compact that design and change it into something you can hold and something small. And he did, and he won the competition, and he made this. It was kind of this brick phone string launching thing. And it was really, really cool, kind of a proof of concept, but he didn't really know what to do with it or how to take it further. And Steven and I attend the same church, and we met on a Sunday, and he had me over for dinner, and we were both nerding out about his device, just how cool it was. I had him over to my place the next day, and we had a bunch of just different ideas of how we could change it. My father jumped in on the action, and within 12 days we had a new prototype. That prototype, Steven ended up sharing it on social media, and that night on TikTok it had over 20 million views, front page of Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, just around the world. It sent a ripple through the internet, and so we started running. And so I'm working on designing the case. I'm kind of the CAD guy, and Steven's the electrical guy. And so we design a new prototype, and it's viral video after viral video. We launch a Kickstarter. It goes, super well. We work with different audiences and different groups like Dude Perfect and other
fun
YouTubers, and the thing just keeps growing. Within that next year, we were on Shark Tank, and it was just a ton of fun. So it's been a crazy and fun ride.
It sounds like it was certainly a blessing the two of you guys came together, and you guys really seem to complement each other very well, right? With the different skill sets you guys have, but yet, very much in line and in tune.
Oh, absolutely. Steven and I, we make such a great team. Kind of his weaknesses I make up for, and vice versa. We both complement each other super well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned Shark Tank, right? And if any of our listeners have noticed, we've been doing a bit of a Shark Tank series, talking to several of companies that have thrived on Shark Tank. Tell us a little bit then about that experience, what that was like. I remember you guys had the whole Men in Black feel going on. Tell us a little bit how that worked out for you.
Yeah. Oh, Shark Tank was so much fun. So as ZipString was just kind of exploding and becoming so popular around the world, so many people were reaching out to us asking, hey, you guys totally should go on Shark Tank. And growing up, I'd always, seen Shark Tank and thought it was really cool. So I filled out the application and And that was in October of 2021. And then it came March time. The producers for the show reached out and they gave us a call and said, "Hey, this is Shark Tank. We'd love what you're doing. Perhaps you guys would be interested in coming on the show." And we said, "Sure." So they asked us a few questions. They really, really enjoyed what they heard. They asked us to make a whole video and kind of go through the whole funnel. And when we got back to them, it's just, we're right in the middle of fulfilling these Kickstarter orders, because at that time we were manufacturing in-house ourselves. We had thousands of ZipString's to make. And so he said, "Can we get back to you guys in a month?" In a month, they reached back out to us and we told them, "Hey, can you give us 2 more weeks?"
I'm sure they're not used to having people say, "Yeah, we're not ready yet."
And they came back in 2 more weeks and we're like, 2 more weeks. We were just, our heads are down, and we weren't playing hard to get or anything. It's just, we really were just so busy, working 12, 16-hour days, making thousands of ZipString's ourselves, as, manufacturing overseas was taking a long time. Eventually, we're able to kind of go through each of the steps to get onto the show, and eventually you have 2 tickets in your hand to go film and Sony Picture Studios, Los Angeles.
They put up the whole, I guess, production for you guys to do the video?
For filming, so you work with the producing team and you kind of innovate and you get creative with them, and you build out, the wardrobe and all the different ideas. It's a really fun experience. And it is also hard on, the founders of a company, because they will require a lot of time and attention, and without a guarantee that you're going to go on the show. And so you have to invest a lot of time, but luckily enough, it all worked out and we were able to go on the show. We filmed in September. It was a ton of fun. We had black suits, black sunglasses, and it just was something different and something kind of silly, but just really fun at the same time. And I think we really kind of were able to fit our brand, the mold that we've been making. So
very cool. And the best part of it is you guys got a deal. You got a deal with not one, but 2 sharks, right?
With 2 sharks. And it's been just great. The whole thing is, you get to work with wonderful people throughout the whole process. And that has been very enjoyable. And it's been great for the brand as well to have Shark Tank behind it.
Yeah. Well, your product is a fun one. It's a toy. Even though it's innovative and it's new, there's something still sort of nostalgic about it. There's a feeling of nostalgia, I think for adults, it gives those vibes of fun toys that we played with, whatnot, back in the day, with the yo-yo, that kind of thing, but with a new twist. So I can only imagine that you must have some sort of issues with it being knocked off and with counterfeits. Has that been the case for you guys?
Absolutely. Since the beginning, since day one, really.
Before even Shark Tank.
So, yeah. And I think much more before Shark Tank.
Wow. Okay.
One of the reasons ZipString has become so popular and so viral today is because of a phenomenon we call the smile of wonderment. And basically, whenever someone uses a ZipString for the first time, there is this expression of just pure raw wonderment, where they're just in awe, trying to understand what exactly is happening when they see that floppy loose string turn into something rigid. And it's repeatable with every person. And so when you have viral video after viral video, a lot of people around the world look at this thing and think it's the coolest thing ever. And so when we launched that viral video, and that first viral video, and Steven had actually a couple other viral videos before that, but the real big one was on August 12th, 2021. And within 3 months later, we started to see the first counterfeits and scams, where our images from our Kickstarter campaign were being ripped off and, sold on kind of a counterfeit device on every platform there is to sell. Amazon, Walmart.com, DHgate, AliExpress, the whole 9 yards.
Oh my goodness.
And so they start popping up all over. And I think around, within 5 months later, I had already removed around 5,000 different listings off Amazon's brand registry. And it was a game of whack-a-mole. They'd pop up and I have to take them down. And it wasn't only counterfeits and scams, but there was also the name ZipString became so popular and such a big search term that I remember one day when I used to handle the customer service, I received an email, and it was a customer that was disappointed that they did not receive their jacket. And I would say, this is interesting. We don't sell jackets.
You don't make jackets, right?
We don't make jackets. We sell a toy. And sure enough, there was a company that totally lifted our whole brand and name and everything and was selling jackets off our trademark and name, logo, and everything. So it wasn't only with kind of taking our images, removing our logos, and selling a kind of a counterfeit. It was all kinds of things.
Yeah, you got brand jack.
Exactly. And so it can be very exhausting when you want to focus on innovating and creating all kind of things, and then you have to, invest a lot of your time and energy into the legal side of things.
Not a surprise, right? A brand of your size, that popular, you're hitting social media with such an incredible amount of popularity. You said 20 million hits. So it's, probably to be expected. I'm assuming you guys were probably suspecting something like that might happen, but probably not to the extent that you saw it happen.
Exactly. And so within 3 months, ZipString had over 200 million views. From that 120 million viral video, it just everywhere else. And so we were expecting, people, and we were hustling to try to get ahead of the game, but we had no idea the amount of knockoffs, counterfeits, and scams there would be, and how fast they'd pop up as well.
In terms of your brand reputation or financial losses, like how did that hurt your company?
It hurts a lot. We touched a little bit about how others were lifting our brand and selling even other products that weren't ZipString related because the search term was so popular. And you have to be careful because you don't want your name, ZipString, to become a generic name for this toy.
Whole nother issue, right?
A whole nother issue. Financially, it hurts because, market share, those are taking away your market share where you should be there. Recently, we issued a case. We signed off on a $10 million lawsuit against just over 1,000 different defendants, 1,000 different entities who were scamming and running counterfeits and selling knockoffs.
Were you able to identify these entities?
Yes. And so we partnered with a firm that was able to help us there. And we've removed thousands of different entities. And that kind of how their business model works is quite incredible. But I think probably what hurts us the most is the amount of time we have to give to the legal side of ZipString to fight these off. That's probably the hardest part, because the goal is that innovators need to have confidence to innovate and to create new ideas. And there's people who get paid to copy it and kind of ruin it.
Yeah.
And so innovators...
That's the easy part.
That's the easy part. And so innovators, they kind of lose this confidence to create new things and come up with new ideas that in a whole make society a better place. And so we have had to invest a lot of time and money and energy. It is so exhausting tackling these issues. And that has been the biggest loss for us, instead of innovating, marketing and doing all the other important things to scale a company.
A lot of sense. If in your journey to fight these scammers and counterfeiters, what do you think has worked the best for you? And what have you learned and taken away from that journey?
There's been a couple of things that we have learned this journey on the counterfeits, and scams, and knockoffs. Oh my! It's finding the right partners that are in this space that can help solve these issues. We partnered with one company that, instead of just removing the listings, they will take them to court, and their assets will be frozen and they can be settled on. So before, when I was myself going over and removing each listing, they're just going to pop up again because nothing really happens.
Yeah, it's that whack-a-mole game, right?
Exactly. It's just a game of whack-a-mole. But when you start going off after their money and what they're taking away from you, then they'll stopping a lot. And so we've removed hundreds and hundreds of counterfeits and entities and have had their assets frozen and settled. I think one of the biggest challenges right now, or I think two challenges, is social media is a very international mechanism. So if a video goes viral, it's going viral in Europe and Asia. It's going viral around the world, not always just in the United States. When it comes to patents, protecting your intellectual property, that is not an international mechanism.
No,
you have to create patents in the United States. You have to create patents in the European Union. And so that is another challenge. So how you disclose your inventions and your IP is very difficult because different countries have different rules. As soon as you disclose it, that patent is void. Some countries give you a year to patent what you have disclosed, like the United States. And so that is another challenge. And so it's very important to get your patents aligned and moving before you disclose any of your intellectual property. But that brings another issue, is that right now, the USPTO is extremely backlogged when it comes to patents. And so it takes a really long time. And for a very small company, you have to kind of just carry the brunt because you don't have the funds to go after the counterfeits and scams. And so the first kind of 2 or 3 years as you're getting started, patents are super expensive and everything. You have to do what you have to do, but you kind of have to carry the brunt of it for a while and kind of do things yourself. And so with the USPTO being backlogs for kind of years on end, one of the things we always have to do is file a track 1 patent, which was we pay an extra, a couple of $1,000s to kind of have it pushed through the USPTO and kind of speed up that process. And so we've had to just, with any patent we do, we'll just pay the extra fees to...
sort of like a fast track.
A fast track, exactly. That's what we do with all of our patents.
That's on the patent side. What about your trademarks? Have you had any issues with global trademarks? Or, obviously, that's, that can be another issue right there as well.
Yeah, very different than patent law. It doesn't take as long, which is great. And protecting your trademark is a lot easier than litigating and when it comes to patents. So we're able to remove counterfeits and scams that are using our trademark really quickly. But it also hasn't been easy because there are some individuals out there. We have, for example, one knockoff company who's their founder was one of our original Kickstarter backers.
Oh, wow.
Who's been in lawsuits for the same kind of IP thievery before. And so it's not uncommon that, for example, when we were airing on Shark Tank, they pushed thousands of dollars into Google Ads to put their company name at the top of the search term and saying their company name, the original ZipString.
Divert traffic from your site.
Exactly. And so we have individuals who will do that, and we'll send a cease and desist and they'll remove it, but that doesn't stop them from getting thousands of dollars in sales on the night we aired on Shark Tank. Unfortunately, a lot of individuals out there who do not have that ethical line or kind of backbone that we have, and that they will do whatever for just one more sale. I think it's always important to be offensive as well, protecting your IP and legal, so people don't want to mess with ZipString because they know they're going to get hit for it later on.
Absolutely. And ultimately, these bad actors, scammers, counterfeiters, they've even knockoffs, they've ultimately become your biggest competitors, right? So you've got to do everything you can. And if it means hitting them where it hurts, which is usually the purse strings like you're doing right now, that's probably the best way.
Yeah. And it's disheartening that some of these cases it'll have to come to a legal battle. It's a fight, and there are a lot of battles, but there's a war to be won in the end.
For sure. How have you guys adapted your IP strategy due to all of this over time? Have you made any changes with how you go about, protecting your IP?
We always need to have our innovation engine running. And so one thing we've suffered when we've had to spend so much time in the legal side of things that there's been times where we've kind of turned off our innovation engine and the whole team is focusing on a patent or something like that. And we found that hurts us more than sometimes protecting the IP itself. And so what we'll have to do is also Steven, who's just incredible, we'll send him to focus on 90% of his time on innovating. And then, although I love that side of the business, I will spend a lot of the time on the legal side of things. And my father, who when he's got free time, he'll jump in and help us too. And so we always have the innovation engine running. And then we always fast track our patents. And then whenever we come up with a new idea, we create a provisional patent. Basically, any ideas or thoughts, write up a quick provisional and we'll get that processed because it's very cheap. It's just here's an idea we have, it's being held, and then we can come back to it and turn it into a full utility patent later on. That's one of the things. And then it's public disclosure. Kind of the beginning when ZipString started, we had that viral video. So that's hurt us a lot, but who knows? Maybe if we didn't launch that video, we'd be here today. So
it's a catch-22, right? I mean, on the one hand, going viral is what makes you, basically puts you on that map, right? And then, of course, you have those, like I said, bad actors who will take advantage of it. They see an opportunity.
Exactly.
They pounce on it.
In an ideal world, it's rarely you have that scenario, but you come up with an idea, you patent it, you do all of this, and then by year 5, you finally launch your product. But it's not always an ideal world, and so you have to kind of use what materials you have to work with.
I'm sure as you guys continue innovating and you've got this lawsuit going, you'll continue to update that IP strategy as time goes.
We're always learning. And I think another thing we can challenge, but one of kind of the IP strategy that we've learned is the person who knows the best about your product is the one who's made it. And the innovator knows the best about his innovations. And so getting that clear to taking that product and explaining it to us, for example, a patent attorney is very important. Whoever's helping you to write that patent. A lot of our patents we basically have written completely ourselves because we understand it the best. And then our attorneys will help, button it up. But helping your attorneys to really understand just exactly what innovations you've come up with and what you're patenting is really important to having a solid patent. That's another kind of piece of advice that we've learned in this process.
All right. And I was going to ask you, what's the number one piece of advice that really goes into very well? Would that be your number one piece of advice that you would give? Or is there something else that you would give any small business owners, anybody else any entrepreneurs out there who are looking to grow their new product or new brand, right?
Yeah, it's hard to break down, there's so many things we would have done differently. There's so many times where I wish I could have had someone to just say, hey, you just focus on you and stop focusing on the other stuff. You got to leave that. You got to just offload that kind of the emotional, exhausting legal side. You got to offload that as soon as you can to someone else, even though it can be really expensive because it kind of can sometimes paralyze you. I think that's a piece of advice I have is as soon as you can, just kind of offload as much as you can of that work to someone else. But it's hard to do that because you're the one that really understands the product and the innovations behind it. And so you have to diligently work on those patents as well. Kind of write up your own patents and then work with an attorney or someone that can help, button it up, help make sure all the claims are very, very wide, and helping the attorneys or whoever's helping you write the patent really understand just what you are patenting. And then partnering with good businesses and people who know the industry better than you and who have different strategies to go after the counterfeits and scams and knockoffs. I wish we found some of those partnerships earlier or talked to someone earlier who was facing or who had faced kind of the same challenges. I definitely would say partnering with teams that know what they're doing and that can help kind of lift some of that pain.
Yeah, obviously they are the experts. They know how to get that, through the right processes. While you guys are the experts in your product and need to help guide, right, as you mentioned, those patents, so you get that buttoned up as precisely as you can. And
don't, I wouldn't say wasted. I don't think the time was wasted, but we played so much whack-a-mole before we started partnering with companies that could go and take these entities to court and actually do something. Otherwise, they'll just keep popping up.
Right. What is next for ZipString and for the company? What do you guys have on the horizon coming up in the next few years?
We have some new models coming out later this year, which we are so excited about. Something the world has never seen, and that's going to bring that smile of wonderment on to everyone on a whole new level. It is so exciting what's going to come out. We love innovating, and so ZipString is going to always come out with the coolest kind of products when it comes to kind of our kind of physics toys and things like that. We're going to be entering in some pretty large stores here soon.
How exciting.
And so we're super excited where that's going and different partnerships as well. It's always fun. We're just grateful for the path we've been on and just how much we've learned.
Looks like that Shark Tank stint actually paid off for you guys pretty well then, huh?
I think, yes. I think Shark Tank it brings a big pop, but it's helpful to, especially when you're dealing with the counterfeits and scams and everyone's fighting to, show, oh, we were the originals. Well, I think having Shark Tank behind your name has really helped us there.
We're going to wrap it up here. But before we go, if our listeners wanted to get in touch with you or learn anything more about ZipString, or maybe go purchase a few ZipStrings for themselves and their family, where could they go?
Go to ZipString.com. Get a ZipString, experience the smile of wonderment, and go try all the cool tricks.
Awesome. Thanks again for your time, Austin. Really appreciate it. It's been a very enlightening conversation. And I'm sure our listeners will have learned a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Have a good one, everyone. Take care. Till next time.
Thanks for listening to the Future of IP Protection podcast, brought to you by Mark Vision. If you enjoyed today's show, please do us a favor and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you'd like to learn more about how Mark Vision can help you transform your IP protection strategy, visit us at markvision.com. Thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next episode.